Hey guys, how's it going? So this is part 4 of a 5-part Q&A covering all of my hike of the Pacific Crest Trail. In this video we're going to be going over any sort of miscellaneous questions as well as plans for upcoming hikes and a few personal questions as well, so check it out.
So we'll move on to some miscellaneous next adventure personal questions.
Yeah, sure. So that's another kind of mixed up section. Oh my god, there's so many on this. Okay.
All right, Steve Bednarchik is wondering what advice you would have for a night hiking. I'm sure it gets easier while on trail for weeks or months. I have a night hike coming up and looking for trips to build my confidence.
Excellent. So advice for night hiking. I mean, I think the main thing that is hard for night hiking, or at least for me, is like just working up the nerve to do it. Like, it's hard when it's really cold at night and you're in a nice warm sleeping bag and a nice dry tent. It's hard to work up the nerve to get going. And for me, it's just always a matter of like, yeah, look, I hate getting out of a warm sleeping bag, and more than that, I hate hiking through the heat with a blasting sun. So just reminding yourself of why you're doing it, I think, was important for me and helped motivate me to get out of my tent. A couple tips, like super practical tips. More than that, I'd say make sure your batteries are charged. Make sure you have enough batteries for your headlamp and recourse. Well, you know, if you have removable batteries for your headlamp, make sure you're carrying extras. Or if you have a rechargeable headlamp, as I do, make sure that your backup battery is charged enough to keep your headlamp going. In the Sierra, Rabbit had his headlamp die, like he had to replace his headlamp.
Oh, no.
And that was very, very hard for us because hiking in the dark was pretty much mandatory in the Sierra when we needed to walk on firm snow. So that was very, very hard to manage because I was doing pretty much all the route finding and wayfinding and navigation through the Sierra. So it wound up being, I would jog on ahead, not jog, God, I wish jog. I would move on ahead some distance as Rabbit and Shade were sharing Shade's headlamp to hike together. So basically me in front, wayfinding, and then Rabbit and Shade with Rabbit in front of Shade so that Shade could cast light enough for Rabbit to hike. Anyways,
Wow.
make sure you have batteries to keep your stuff charged. I also think another cool thing about hiking in the dark for me was, especially on the CDT down in the boot heel, and definitely in the Sierra as well, it was really fun to navigate by the stars, which I know is probably terrifying for people who aren't familiar with hiking and navigation. But learn how to identify constellations, learn how to find the North Star, and then navigate with it. And it's fun. Like, it's a way to keep your brain active, and it's a way to feel more in touch with like ancient human activities.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, it's a cool, vibey way to really tap into some like ancient wisdom.
Well, you say learn how to do it. How did you learn how to do it? So other people
I mean, identifying the North Star, you could definitely just check out a YouTube video to find where the North Star is, or if you're hiking in the Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Cross, although clearly I have no experience hiking by the Southern Cross. If you can find the Big Dipper, or if you can find Cassiopeia, those are two great constellations which will help guide you to the North Star. There's a book I'll shout out, whose official title I'll put down below, and author. But it was something like Learning How to Read Nature Signs, or something like that.
that sounds like
It's
a
a
really
neat,
cool
it's
book.
a neat book.
Yeah.
It's a neat book. But yeah, practice with it. And learning how to navigate by the stars is a great way to enjoy hiking at night. Also, a final note about hiking through the night is I think it's important to never hike with headphones in at night. I never would ever hike with more than one headphone anytime, day or night. But definitely at night, I want to keep as many, like basically if I have 5 senses, I'm not going to use smell or taste to really perceive threats. So my only things are sight, sound, and touch. I'm not really going to use much touch to perceive threat. So now I have sight and sound. And if I'm taking away one of those, I'm really left with one of my 5. I'm so imperiling myself without any advantage. So never hike with headphones at night. I like night hiking. I don't like night hiking into the night again, because that just feels like hard. Night hiking in the morning though is really nice for me. I hope you enjoy it.
Daddy May asks, for 5 best tips besides hike your own hike.
5 best tips. All right, so this is a really hard one. I don't know. Best is a hard one because I'd want to give it more thought to come up with a comprehensive list. But 5 good tips, I think. I've already referred to some. 2 that are very well related. I would say give yourself success. This is definitely my main piece of advice for anyone who's trying to get into backpacking is do not under any circumstances set yourself up for hating hiking. Like, if you don't have the gear you need to stay comfortable, if you don't have the sleeping bag that's going to keep you warm, if you don't have shoes that are going to keep your feet comfortable, if you don't have enough first aid supplies to rectify any sort of, sprain or blister or whatever, you're going to wind up hating it. The way I look at that is you can make yourself hate hiking for the rest of your life off of 1 bad hour of hiking. So give yourself successes, set yourself up for success, and make sure that you don't set yourself up for failure. Related to that, I'd say give yourself grace would be my second tip. Don't beat yourself up. This is a little different. It sounds like linguistically it's somewhat similar, give yourself success and give yourself grace, but they're 2 different ideas. Give yourself success comes down to don't put yourself in a position to fail. Mm-hmm. Give yourself grace is more like if things are getting hard, don't beat yourself up. Get over it. Don't if something's going poorly or something's going hard, something's difficult, it's already hard, it's already going poorly. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself grace, be kind to yourself. Let it be okay that you only did 6 miles in 13 hours, through the Sierra. It's a hard lesson, but it's important, I think. Give yourself grace. Another one that I developed on the AT is my most important day on trail is tomorrow. So this comes down to, it's my 3rd tip, is accept that mantra, is don't dog yourself out over 1 day. Don't break yourself in 1 day. You do yourself no good on the course of a 160-day hike. You do yourself no good emptying the tank on any particular day. So always save something for tomorrow. 4th tip I'd say is there's only 1 speed that isn't a pace. If you're going forward, you're maintaining a pace. If you're stopped, you're not maintaining a pace. So going forward, don't beat yourself up over going too slow or whatever. It is what it is. There's only one speed that isn't a pace. And then the 5th piece of advice that kind of relates to a lot of these as well, and is not one that I've developed by any sort of stretch of the imagination, is don't quit on a bad day. Understand going into it that you're going to have bad days and challenges and stuff like that, and that you'll face adversity, that you'll be cold and wet and hungry and stinky and everything else. And just when those days come, just wear them, I mean, you can stay home for 6 months and have terrible days at home too, so don't quit on a bad day. Just wear them. Let it be what it is. Give yourself the grace to move through it, and just tomorrow will be better. That's another thing. Final point on this is one thing I really like about thru-hiking is, unlike a bad day at home where you got to go back to that job tomorrow, you got to go back to that bed, or you got to go back to that same person or same house or same car, whatever it is, wherever it is that you experienced, whatever it was that triggered you to have that bad experience on that bad day. On a thru-hike, you don't really return to any of the same stuff the next day. Like, so you can think spatially about it if that helps you. Like, yesterday was a bad day. Well, I'm not there. I can move on from that. Like, literally physically move out of that spot and into a different spot where things will be better. And you never have to go back there. So you never have to go back to your hard place.
Yeah. Well, speaking of going back, Campolato asks, have you ever considered returning to the High Sierra when it's not covered in snow?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. When I was getting ready for the PCT, I got on the phone with Midnight Chocolate and a few other people, Midnight Chocolate, of course, with whom I hiked on the CDT, and she was like, dude, you won't see anything out there, so do it if you want, but it might be very hard. Well, it was very hard. But frankly, I feel like I don't at all mean to take anything away from the JMT, and I saw it in a very unusual circumstance, but I could probably go back every July or August for the rest of my life and see more or less the same thing. But very few people will ever see the JMT in the situation that I saw it in and the condition that I saw it in. So I'm happy with the experience I had. challenging though it was. But I'd love to go back and see it in that sort of more classical situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to go back.
All right. They also ask, what initiatives should the ATC, CDTC, PCTA focus to make their trail better for future generations?
That's a hard one. I think all three of those organizations are doing a bang-up job, really, really great job. So many of the volunteers that are involved with those trails do such amazing work. And I don't really have a bad thing to say about any of those trails except for the ATC. Shade on the ATC.
Shade.
I think it's repulsive that the ATC is not acknowledging the through hikes of people who hiked in 2021 and like myself. The
Yeah.
ATC says, according to them, the trails were closed, and so they're not acknowledging the through hikes of people who hiked in 21. This is all the result of COVID and stuff.
Kind of silly.
Obviously, the agencies who are actually responsible for these trails said that they were open. So, like, the state parks, the national forests and stuff, those were public lands that were open to the public. So I don't know why the ATC is not acknowledging my hike, but I didn't hike for them, so I'll just not donate to them.
Shady.
And I'll send my money instead to PCTA and CDTC. So I hope the ATC winds up recognizing hikes, but that's really the only thing I'd say against those trails. I think they do a bang up job otherwise. Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about them.
Have you written to them? Or like...
Oh yeah.
Madeline Wedig asks, I would love to know how you became interested in through hiking.
I'd like to say I've always been interested in through hiking. I don't know if that would be completely accurate. I was a Boy Scout as a kid, Cub Scout as a kid. I enjoyed camping. That was the biggest part of scouting that I enjoyed, was being out in nature and hiking and camping. And being from the East Coast, I was always aware of the Appalachian Trail, and I was always interested to do it, and I just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I would never get an opportunity to do it. So when the pandemic kicked up, the opportunity presented itself, and I decided to make lemonade out of lemons, and luckily, my wife, was kind enough to let me go. So, so that's how I became interested in through hiking, I guess.
Yeah. From Nicholas Miller, Robin Feinhout, Mick Melgers, Cecilia Hikes, Asha Goldstein, all asked, how long does it take your body to adjust to not doing the amount of hiking and effort that you've been maintaining the last months? How much weight did you lose doing the hike, and how long does it take to your body to get back whatever your normal is? How do you manage the post-hike blues? Are they worse with the end of your Triple Crown journey? Are there any ways you try to hold on to the perspective and quiet mind that you had on trail?
Yeah, so physical stuff, and then post-hike blues, and then sort of perspective. Physical stuff, it doesn't take any time at all to get back to being comfortable not hiking. There's that old axiom, like the body stores fat, but it doesn't store muscle. Humans are designed to enjoy laziness, so it's been kind of nice. I'll say, like, on this hike, I feel like I have some discomfort in my back. I don't know. I was used to sleeping flat, and now I'm not sleeping flat. I'm sleeping in a nice, comfortable, cushy bed. But it's fine. I'm still working on shrinking my stomach back again, which is like a strange thing, but it's a thing. I mean, I worked on growing my stomach and smashing as much food into it as I could for each of these 3 hikes. And so once you get through hiking, you have to immediately learn, like, dude, you don't need like 4 ounces of butter with every single pancake, which is what I was doing. Like, you don't need to like smash pints of Ben and Jerry's every single day, which I'm still kind of doing, but shouldn't. So there's like retraining the mind to try and not eat as much food as I kind of still want to eat, which gets to weight. Before I started this trail, I got a physical and I weighed 172 pounds. I'm 5'11". At my low point on this trail, which was the first time I made it to Bend, I think I weighed 134 pounds.
Oh my god.
So that was almost 40 pounds. I think I lost 10 to 15 pounds just in that 31 days that I was in the Sierra. So yeah, weight loss is a thing for me, and that's still, I'm trying to eat a ton, but you just can't keep up. So I wanted to weigh myself before this Q&A, knowing that this question was coming. I'll weigh myself when I get home. I didn't have batteries in the scale, so I'll put the weight right here. That's how much I weigh right now. So it takes a minute to get back to sort of standard. After that, it was post-hike blues.
Post-hike blues.
I don't think the post-hike blues have sunk in. I've tried. I think generally my overall demeanor as a person is pretty even keel, whether that has to do with like anger or depression or happiness, even, frankly, for the most part. I feel like I'm generally pretty flat personality wise. Why am I ripping myself right now? but so post-hike blues, I don't really feel like it affects me to a great deal. And certainly, I think, if anything, it would be less severe for this, my third trail, because I know what's coming better, you know, or what to expect more than I did after the Appalachian Trail. So I don't really worry about it. I mean, my wife's amazing, and she gives me a lot of she gives me a lot of grace. I mean, she gives me a lot of leeway, and is super supportive and amazing. So having a good person at home, sorry, she's taken.
Sorry, boys.
Sorry, fellers. No, but having good people at home who will give you grace, I think is important, if that's available to you. So, with respect to the perspective, this is something I struggle with. I do struggle with this because, I mean, again, the words I use is always like, thru-hiking cleans my mind, and this other world of, like, you know, jobs, responsibilities, electricity, comfort, running water, toilets, heat and air conditioning and everything else, all these wonderful modern luxuries, having chairs that have backs and stuff, like they blunt and dirty my mind in a way. Like you lose the perspective, and that just breaks my heart. I try and hold on to it, but it's like trying to pull a hand of sand up from the bottom of the ocean. You just feel it slip away.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I try everything I can to hold on to it for as long as possible. And hopefully with every thru hike I'll get closer and closer to being able to retain it indefinitely. But it breaks my heart that I know I'll lose the edge on that perspective, but I'm trying to hold on to it. So.
But I mean, you get it back with each hike.
Get it back somewhat. Yeah, for sure. I think this is why people meditate. I don't meditate. I've never really meditated, but I think that there's a tremendous amount of thru-hiking that is tremendously meditative, if you will, in that you just have so much space to explore whatever thought, however profound or trivial that thought may be. You get to really go all the way into it and think about it for as long as you'd like to, or you need to, or whatever else.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's something totally trivial or something totally profound, you have the space and time to explore thoughts in a way that this world doesn't allow. There's TV, there's comfort, there's junk, jobs, junk that screw that all up. So, yeah.
And I think you said also, as far as going back to like the post-hike blues, like the past 3 years, I mean, you've been not gone as much as you were home, but like the past 3 years you've been gone a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's kind of nice to be home with friends, with family, with, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
chairs
is that
with backs.
This trail specifically, the PCT, I mean, look, I missed my wife and dog a lot, you know, the 2 previous trails as well. But this trail, really, I felt it most acutely, was missing Daff, and wanting to get home. So frankly, and as far as post-trail blues, I mean, I miss the trail too, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I miss the friends I made, I miss the fresh air, I miss sleeping in the cold, I miss all of it. I miss the fresh water and the physical activity. I do miss that. I can't say I don't miss the trail, but it would also be completely ridiculous for me to suggest that I'm not happy to be home with my wife too. I mean, yeah.
Good to have you back.
Thanks.
Sure. Kimberly Penny asked, if you could hike with any thru-hiker, who would it be?
I don't even know how to answer this question either. I've hiked with a lot of great people over the past 3 trails. I'm not going to start like name dropping everyone because I know I'll wind up omitting someone.
Dump truck.
But yeah, Landfill and Morning Dove. I mean, I've just hiked with great people. And as far as people I'd love to hike with, I don't know. I'd love to hike, I don't know. I mean, the folks from Backpacker Radio are pretty cool. I'd like to hike with them. I'd like to hike with someone like Skirka or something like that. It'd be cool to get out with Alex Honnold, although he does a totally different thing than I do. Anyone who's got like serious chops and could teach me something. Not that, I mean, there's tons of people who could teach me anything. Like, but I don't know. But honestly, even the other side of that coin. I mean, I'd love to go out with people who know less than I do, and with whom I get to share some of the things I've learned. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't name drop someone specifically I'd like to hike with. And again, frankly, I really enjoy hiking on my own too. So.
Another from Campolato. What's something non-cliche triple crowner beat would say to neophyte beat?
This is a hard one too. Again, I think I kind of reflected this in some of my advice. I think the give yourself grace thing, it can be easy once you start feeling that pull to crush miles and move fast and all this and that. It can be easy to start to beat yourself up if you don't achieve whatever it is that you were hoping to achieve. But my objective going into a thru hike was never about setting an FKT or a fastest known time or anything like that. My objective has always just been to finish them, and so far I've had success with that. So, and as far as something non-cliche triple crowner beat would say to neophyte beat is give yourself grace, and it's fine, just enjoy it. I don't know.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Robin Finehout, are you done through hiking now that you finished the Triple Crown?
I'm done for the moment. Done for the moment. I don't know. I mean, look, this is going to be something I've thought about, to great length already. Something I thought about to great length before I finished the PCT. Shoot, something I thought about before I started the PCT is what would be next. I had a lot of people ask about what would be next. And I don't know. I don't know what's next. I have a few things knocking around, but I'm not prepared to talk about anything. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think I'd like to get back. I would like to get back out and do more trails. I don't know how soon that'll be, and I don't know which trail that would be. But it's a topic of discussion between me and the amazing Miss Daphne, and we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
Sounds good. I'm excited. Elaine Lewis, Sunny Simple Life, Tahoe Tam, Landon Garland, Richard in Japan, Asha Goldstein, Mike Bellick. They all ask, will you be doing any kind of through hike next year, or any other hikes on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much just answer this question. I don't think I'm going to be doing another 5 or 6 month hike in 2024. That's probably the most concise way to answer that question. There's a few things I'm weighing, but I'm not prepared to discuss any of them yet because I don't know what they are yet. So.
Landon Garland asks, we can tell you are an expert beer connoisseur and likely sponsored to hoof it 7,500 miles just to sample brew throughout the USA. What was your favorite on the PCT, CDT, and AT, or is Natty Light just plain good enough?
Yeah, I mean, look, any beer on trail is amazing. I can tell you some favorite beer moments that I have on trail. Maybe that might answer the question. There was Manny the firefighter on the CDT who pulled up to me in midnight somewhere in New Mexico, like at 7 in the morning, and gave us both a few Coors Banquets. Coors Banquets seem to be like the preferred trail beer, I've noticed. I don't know why.
I've never heard of it.
It's amazing. It's a gold can. It's not amazing. It's not an amazing beer. But any beer you're going to get at 7 in the morning for a complete stranger walking down a dirt road is an amazing beer. So there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for Coors Banquets because of Manny the firefighter and all the other people who randomly happened to give me Coors Banquets on trail. There was also a really, really hard day I was having on the Appalachian Trail. I don't remember specifically where. It was somewhere in the north half. There was a trail runner who ran past me going up the trail. That's fine. It was a rainy day, and so I keep hiking. And then sometime later, that trail runner came running back down by me. He was just going up to tag whatever peak or whatever. And as he was coming back down, he was like, "Oh hey, I left a beer up at the peak."
I remember that.
But I was in a bad mood, and I mean I was kind to him. I wasn't ingenerous to him. I was like, "Oh man, really? Awesome, thank you." But after he passes, my sour mood sort of started thinking quite cynically, like, I swear to God, if that man was lying to me, I'm gonna run down this mountain and break his legs. Like, you better not. You can't lie to me. Like, not today. I'm too sensitive today. I can't take it today. But I'm thinking like, oh, I can't. I don't know. It was really. So I get up closer to the peak. Obviously, I can't see anything. But as I'm getting closer to the peak, I start to see a couple more hikers off in the distance behind me, who, like, the minute you see someone you haven't been seeing, you know that they're going faster than you.
Sure.
So I knew that they were coming up on me, and I was like, God, no way. So I'm like, no way they're getting that beer. So I started, like, basically running up this mountain, and sure enough, the dude left like a tall boy of Lagunitas. I forget which specific beer. I think it was, I don't remember. It was like some Lagunitas IPA.
And it's a bad beer.
It's totally a great beer, and it was a tall boy too. And so I was like, yes, I felt so amazing. But as I got up to that peak, I was like, I can't just smash this beer when there's two hikers who might also be having a bad day behind me. So I waited for them. You know, I didn't have to wait very long. They weren't that far behind me, but they caught up, and I had waited to even open the beer because I wanted to demonstrate that it was a beer that was left and that I was happy to share it with them. But the first hiker arrived, and I made that offer to him, and he declined. And then the second hiker arrived, and I made that offer to him, and he also declined. And I was like, this is amazing. This is going to be like a perfectly guilt-free beer. But I did everything right here. Like, I offered it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I smashed it. And so those are two beers that I'll have soft places in my heart forever. It'd be Coors Banquets and whatever that Lagunitas beer was. Yeah, but generally, I mean, you want to give me a beer on trail, I'll take it, and I'll be happy, and I'll be super appreciative of it, whether it's cold or cheap or expensive or whatever. I will say, just one final point on this. I did wind up learning that in and by the large, generally IPAs have more calories than any other type of beer. So when I am getting beers in town, I generally tend towards IPAs because they're stronger ABV, are higher, or sorry, they're more calories per ounce. So that's a good one.
All right, this is a really good question. They've all been really good questions. Landon Garland asks, do you train in the fall and winter? Stair stepper, walk with a heavy pack, run, weightlifting, etc.?
It might be a good question, but it's got a simple answer and a disappointing one, is that no, I do not. I do not train at all. I probably should, but I do not. Just is what it is. I work on my feet. We'll get to questions about what I do a little later, but no, I don't really train. I'll sometimes go for shakedown hikes if there's a piece of gear I'm curious about. If I got something new that I want to test, I'll definitely take it out and try and get familiar with it before I start relying on it for a through hike. But I don't do any sort of physical training in a structured way off trail. Maybe I will, probably I won't. It's nice to think I might. So.
Well, you do like hikes for fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like day or weekend hikes or whatever.
Yeah, as much as possible, I like to get outdoors.
Yeah. They also ask, right after turning off the alarm clock every morning, I roll over and tell my wife, it's 6:10 a.m., 66.4 degrees, time to go to work. Would you please tell her that this is perfectly normal? Otherwise, she's going to medicate and enroll me into group.
It's totally normal. There's nothing unusual about that. I completely condone this activity. I think you're doing fine. Keep at it. Keep the tradition alive. So.
That's great. Tahoe Tam, Landon Garland asks, what's the latest with Shade and Rabbit? Did they finish?
They definitely finished. We did keep in touch. Once we parted ways, we kept in touch. Those two wound up finishing together, which is awesome. But we've been in touch, and they're awesome. Love them both. Wish them all the best. Hope I get to see them again someday.
Built on the Rock Driftwood is wondering, would you ever entertain the idea of planning and doing a short through hike with someone, say 2 to 3 weeks? The rugged Cumberland Trail on the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee, hypothetically.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still weighing what my next hike is, but maybe. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't want to ignore any questions. So even if I don't have a good answer, I don't have a good answer to this one. Potentially, yeah. I mean, if there's a cool trail and there's someone around who knows it or whatever, sure.
Ryan Lenninger, how did you get the trail name?
Get to camp and you say I'm beat enough, and then people beat, you're beat. So
There it is. Short and sweet. Richard in Japan, what is your name in the real world?
My name is Brian York. Brianyork.
Brian York. Richard in Japan and Rocky Mountain Way, what line of work are you in? What line of work are you in that allows you the freedom to spend so much time on trail?
So at this point, I'm primarily bartending in the greater Washington, D.C. area. So, you know, I tend to work at decently Tony places, and I've been in restaurants and bars pretty much my whole life, and I've gotten decently good at it. So in this area, you can make okay money, and you know, between my resume and skill set, I can get jobs at different places. So really, when I start at another place, I'll have that conversation up front. Hey, look, this is what I'm doing next year. I'm happy to jump in and help you out until I go, but then I'm going to go. And if you want to have me back afterwards, that's great. And if not, there's other great places. So yeah, so this goes back to the question about training and stuff. Is I work on my feet, you know. It's also a line of work I really enjoy for, I don't know, I found myself in a good spot where, like, when I'm off trail and in this world, I can engage with people professionally ad nauseum as a source of revenue and entertainment and for work. And then when I'm on trail, I don't really engage with people that much. So it's more reflective personal time. And that's kind of nice to have a foot in both worlds. I think it keeps me interested in both, makes me better at both, honestly. Yeah.
Cool. All right, on to specifics.
Oh.
All right, guys, well, thanks so much for watching. That was part 4 of a 5-part series. Coming up next, we're going to be getting into a few specific questions which didn't really fit neatly into any of these other categories, so we'll have that coming around soon. Be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.
You want to do that one more time? Because I was fixing my nose ring, and it looked like I was picking my nose.
Maybe you were.